nom, 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 nom.
Good afternoon, Sac City. Welcome into another episode of the Sac City Podcast. I am your host, the one and only Vinny Milani, joined as always by my best friend in the whole entire world. He is Aaron the Mukesiah Mukes. It is a beautiful September 7th afternoon here in the city. We've got two shows on tap for you today. We've got a fantasy show talking about week one starts, week one perfect lineups. I don't know, man. I'm just really excited. I'm really excited for football to finally be here. We're talking fantasy week one. After that, we are going to be diving into our full season predictions for the NFL year, including playoffs, Super Bowl winners, maybe some MVPs. We'll dive into all that and so much more in just a bit. Aaron, how goes it on this afternoon?
I'm good. Still sick, but I'm good.
You sound like death. You actually sound like
I don't feel very good, but I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
Good.
I'm ready for football to start tomorrow.
I think I know the cure to maybe help your illness here. And that is talking fantasy football. And I had this idea in my head. I'm going to pull the curtain back. I had this idea in my head to basically give fantasy owners an idea on what the perfect lineup looks like. And if you have any of the guys listed in our perfect lineup, then you should be good to go. You should have full confidence heading into your fantasy football week. So that's how I want to start the show. Aaron, give me your perfect fantasy lineup starting from the quarterback position all the way down. You give a quarterback. If you want to give two running backs, you can. Yeah, give me quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker.
Okay. Now I'm writing this down. I'm being thrown on the spot here, you guys, just so we know. I did not know that I was going to be the only one doing this, but I win league. So this is how
it's your show.
Whoa. That was a lot. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start. I think this is fairly simple for me. I'll start at the quarterback position, and the reason I think it's fairly simple is I love the matchup. I love the game. I think it's going to be a high-scoring football game, week one, and it's easy. It's Patrick Mahomes, and it's Patrick Mahomes for a number of reasons. I know a lot of people might say, "Oh, it should be Josh Allen. He's the number one quarterback," and
that's kind of where I thought you were going.
Yeah, but he also plays the Rams, who again, as much as I thought I said that they're going to blow them out. That is a defensive football team. The matchup does not sit well. It should be a tighter contested game than what I predicted it would be. On the other hand, the Arizona Cardinals, we talked about that secondary all offseason and how they lack the depth pieces and the talent on the back end. They lose a Chandler Jones. I think that they are ripe for the taking offensively. Mahomes has a disposal of weapons to get the ball to. I just really, really like this matchup. I think with the Chiefs being that high-powered offense they've kind of always been, I think it's a time for them to make a statement. It's indoors. They're going to have to score because I do think Arizona will be able to put up some points on Kansas City early in the season. I really, really like Patrick Mahomes here. And then you look at some of the other top quarterbacks you might be choosing from. They have some tougher matchups. The only other quarterback I considered really here was Jalen Hurts. As the only other, and I know I just cut out there a little bit.
Yeah,
I don't know what you heard.
Didn't hear any of it.
The only other person I was debating to go with was Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
And that was just because of the matchup with Detroit. I like that first week matchup, but I went with the consistent guy here. It's something that I've known is going to show up, and that's Patrick Mahomes. Herbert has a tough matchup with the Raiders. It's a division game.
I was leaning more toward we talk about how this was going to be your thing, but then in my mind, I'm like thinking about it and looking at who like would be my perfect quarterback this week. And you brought him up. Jalen Hurts is a great pick, with all the additions on that offense, but also I don't know why. And maybe this is my hype for Lamar Jackson going into the season. I think he's going to light the league up this year if he stays healthy. Coming off of that injury last year, I think contract year, he's going to play through it and everything. I think he's going to have not necessarily a chip on his shoulder, but he's just going to be out for blood. And starting this week off against the New York Jets, who obviously have improvements on their defense, I still think Lamar Jackson is going to be able to have his way. And I think that would be, if we're not picking Josh Allen or if I'm not picking Josh Allen as the obvious choice, I think it is Lamar Jackson as the perfect quarterback. That would be where I would lean.
Yeah, I think the Jets defense is better than they were the season ago. And I think they're kind of being underappreciated at this point. I do think Lamar is probably going to play well, but remember, he didn't play at all in the preseason. You have to worry about how does he come out a little bit rusty, connection with his receivers. We're not sure about that running game. J.K. Dobbins is coming back from an injury. They got Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake. We're not sure how that's going to play. So I think it might take time. I think obviously they'll win. They'll be putting up points, but yeah, I think it's going to take time for him really to show out. Like I said, I want a sure thing here, so I went with Patrick Mahomes at my quarterback.
It's fair. It's fair. What about the running back?
I thought the running backs were pretty easy to me, and I'm gonna be honest. The first one is Jonathan Taylor. He's playing against the Texans. You can't
slam dunk.
Slam dunk. If you drafted him, great. You're getting a great week one. I thought that was an easy one. The second one is Alvin Kamara, and I really, really like this Kamara pick against the Falcons. Obviously, we don't know about a suspension that may be looming, but I think he comes out with a bunch of energy, and he's going to have a nice day here. So I thought the running backs were my easiest picks. When you look at some of those other backs you could have taken, the Christian McCaffreys, the Derrick Henrys, I think their matchups are a little bit tougher. I really like the matchup for an Alvin Kamara. So that's who I went with the running back position.
Okay.
As I was still going through the wide receiver position, I will tell you the number one wide receiver I'm taking here is Davante Adams. And the reason I'm taking Davante Adams is because, number one, I think they're going to have to put up points against the Chargers. J.C. Jackson is out. The connection between Derek Carr, and I know they didn't play in the preseason, but I think, again, it's just kind of that statement week, first week of the season. I think Davante Adams and Derek Carr come out and make a statement. So I went Davante Adams. And then the second one is it really might.
I hope it's who I have.
I doubt it. It's Courtland Sutton.
Ooh, okay.
And
it wasn't who I had, but
I think he will finish as a top 10 wide receiver in this week. And yes, I could say, if that's perfect lineup, then I want Justin Jefferson. But you probably don't have Patrick Mahomes, Justin Jefferson, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, all these guys on your team. So I try to do it in what could your team really look like? And I think you could end up having Mahomes, Kamara, Taylor, Adams, and then Courtland Sutton.
And that's why I did this segment and went straight to you, because I knew you'd factor in the fact that maybe some people don't have like you could easily just go Josh Allen, Jonathan Taylor, Justin Jefferson, all the first round picks, and there's your perfect lineup. But that's not necessarily the perfect lineup because some people don't have that. So that's it. I'm happy that you went that route.
Yeah. So I went Courtland Sutton here, Monday Night Football game against the Seattle defense. We love the young pieces in their secondary, but again, they're young. Russell Wilson, revenge game. And maybe it's a toss-up here. Maybe it's Jerry Jeudy, and it's not Sutton. But one of those guys, I have a feeling, is going to have a really, really nice day here. I went with the guy that I liked a little bit more in Courtland Sutton. So I thought that was an interesting pick there.
I think a note for a wide receiver that I really like this week is Hollywood Brown with the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a game, obviously, you brought up the Patrick Mahomes side of things. This game is going to be a shootout, I think, between Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, all the weapons here. We're just dealing. And I think Hollywood Brown coming into Arizona with no DeAndre Hopkins in week one. You talk about the connection with who did you just say with the connection? Davante Adams and Derek Carr. There is the connection, an even more recent connection with Hollywood and Kyler Murray. And I think that's where I think we're going to see a big week from Hollywood Brown, and that he would be in my perfect lineup.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's not a bad pick. I like the Chiefs defense a little bit more than that, I think. To get this done. My tight end would be Mark Andrews against the Jets. I just think it's really hard when you talk about tight end. The only other person I thought about was maybe a Dallas Goedert against Detroit. I like that as well. So maybe if you weren't able to get all these guys stacked up, maybe a Dallas Goedert there. But I went with Mark Andrews. I think he has a big day week 1. I think he picks up right where he left off last year. The defense and kicker, this is where it gets look, you guys know how I feel about kickers. I couldn't name you one kicker, but I'm going to tell you Tyler Bass is my kicker all year long. I think the Buffalo is the highest scoring offense this year. I think they put up a ton of points. Tyler Bass is going to be kicking a lot of extra points for them, but also they're in the red zone a lot. Give me some Tyler Bass. And then from the defensive side of the football, I'm going back to the well. I'm going to the Saints. Going right back to the well, taking the Saints defense against an Atlanta offense that I think is just going to struggle all year. So give me that New Orleans defense and Tyler Bass as my kicker. And you have a lineup of Patrick Mahomes, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Devontae Adams, Courtland Sutton, Mark Andrews, Saints defense, and Tyler Bass as your kicker.
That's beautiful. That is a beautiful lineup. That'll be your perfect lineup. And hey, if you can snap, like we're going to also do this perfect lineup stuff for our DFS talk when we talk on Sunday to help you win some money. But this is your perfect lineup for your fantasy football team this week. Let's answer some questions here in the chat. We have one question regarding the perfect lineup. What do you think about Dawson Knox being a perfect tight end this week? Just got the big contract. I shouldn't say big contract, but he just got paid. Josh Allen loves them. Going up against the Rams in a game that you say that the Bills are going to put up 1 million points. What about Dawson Knox this week?
I don't hate him, but when I'm talking perfect lineup, he won't finish in the probably top 5 to 7 tight ends in my opinion. He loved Dawson Knox last year, and Dawson Knox only had 49 catches for 500 yards. He did have a lot of touchdowns, which is nice for a tight end, but that could limit his upside with all those other weapons. I don't think a contract is going to make him better. I think the contract just makes him more secure. But It's not like Josh Allen's going to say, oh, we just paid him millions. I'm going to throw to you every play. Like, that's not really the way it works. So with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and Isaiah McKenzie and Devin Singletary and the other 2 backs they got, and then Dawson Knox, I don't know that he's going to get enough volume to catapult himself. The only other tight end I really thought about was, like I said, a Dallas Goedert there. Or even if you want to take a deep one, is Pat Freiermuth. I think he's going to have a really good year with those younger quarterbacks from Mitch Trubisky not being able to get the ball outside as much, working the middle of the field. I really like Pat Freiermuth as well.
People are down on the Muth, man. I've seen a lot of people kind of down on him this year, obviously with the quarterback position looking the way it is. I mean he's a steal in drafts. If you're still drafting, get yourself Pat Freiermuth later on in the drafts, and don't be like me and draft Mark Andrews so early and then run out of running backs and be like, shit, I wish I didn't take Mark Andrews in the second round because now I'm all shit out of luck out of running backs. So take the Muth later on in drafts. Don't invest too highly in your tight ends so early. All right, Aaron, it's time. It's time to get into some week 1 matchups. And week 1, there's a lot of games, man, that are fantasy relevant. A lot of games that have a lot of good fantasy pieces. But if you could just pick maybe 2 or 3 or however many you want, let's say 3 games. Pick 3 games out that have the most fantasy relevant players, and maybe give some analysis on who's the ones you're watching out for.
Yeah, I'll start with one of the afternoon games on Sunday, and I kind of pointed to it by taking Devontae Adams. I'm going to take the Raiders and the Chargers. You guys know I'm not a firm believer in the Chargers defense, despite all the additions that they've added. I think this is a high-scoring football game, and I think there's a ton of points to be had here in fantasy. Obviously, you get the Justin Herberts, but you also get the Austin Eckler's, the Keenan Allens, the Mike Williams. So you get 4 elite players right there, and then you go to the other side of the football, and you talk about Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, and Darren Waller, and then Hunter Renfrow in there. It's another 5 pieces right there of fantasy production. And I also have a few sleepers that I kind of wanted to throw out there. Gerald Everett, who people know I just made fun of AJ and Dylan last year for talking about he was going to be the guy over in Seattle or whatever. But Gerald Everett is a tight end now on the Chargers. I think that could be something. He could end up being fantasy relevant. And then we talked about some of the younger guys that we've liked For the Chargers, it's a Josh Palmer. For the Raiders, it's a Zamir White. Maybe he gets in there and gives you some flex appeal that week one. So I just think there's a ton of fantasy points to be had in this game. I don't particularly care for either one of these defenses, despite the additions. But if the defenses do stand out, then you get those defensive side of the points, right? Now you can talk about maybe the Raiders defense or the Chargers defense providing sacks with a Bosa and a Mack and a Crosby and then a Chandler Jones. So I just think there's fantasy points all over the board in this matchup. And so that would be my number one. I think that's my number one game where I'm looking at, I'm like, you know what? That's going to impact a lot of different leagues, how this game plays out. I really am intrigued by that.
What do you think about season long with Derek Carr? Like he might not. You think he went undrafted in some drafts? You think, or you think he was?
Yeah, he'll finish top 12, about top 12.
Okay,
13,
so not like
right where he's always at. I don't think his numbers excessively go up. Maybe he throws more touchdowns this year, depending on the type of offense. But I still think it's going to be a run first through Josh Jacobs. I think the difference now is he has a guy to go to when they need to go to him. And I'm not knocking Hunter Renfrow or Darren Waller, but a guy on the outside that he can just trust and throw it, and that guy's going to make a play. And I think that's the biggest difference. I don't know how much the numbers actually improve. I know his yardage will probably go up a little bit, maybe a little bit in touchdowns, but I don't think he jumps from quarterback 15 to quarterback 6. It's like he's still going to sit quarterback 12 through 15 somewhere.
So for fantasy purposes, he's still going to be around that same level. I don't mean to continue on this train, but Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, which one would you rather have season long?
Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
I think he's more consistent. I like the style of play that they have a little bit more. They're a fast-paced offense. I think that's only going to speed up even more now with McConnell. I think you get more plays out of him. He's definitely going to throw the ball more to me than Derek Carr will. So yeah, I would take Kirk Cousins.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. What's your next game?
Yeah, the next game I had on my list was a little bit tougher, but I'm going to go back to we talked about these teams earlier. It's the Chiefs and the Cardinals. And I get it. We don't have DeAndre Hopkins, but with Kansas City, there's so many unknowns that could be fantasy relevant. Obviously, it's Mahomes and it's Kelsey, but where does Clyde Edwards-Helaire fit in there? Is Isaiah Pacheco a flex out of there? And then we have Mecole Hardman, Juju Smith, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling now finally on the field at the same time. Who is that number one in week one? And all those guys are on somebody's team, right? Somebody's looking for that breakout wide receiver from Kansas City. So that intrigued me. And then on the other side, you have Kyler Murray, James Conner, Rondale Moore, AJ Green, and Hollywood Brown. And again, just a number of weapons. You add Zach Ertz in there at the tight end position. I think that's good. This is going to be a high scoring game again. I think a lot of offense and a lot of fantasy points. And let's be honest, opportunity in fantasy and points is exactly what we're looking for. So I'm looking for those high scoring football games. And I think that's another one there with Kansas City and the Cardinals.
Yeah, I think with this game, and there's two games for me, or at least two teams that have the most, the fantasy owners should have the most eyes on these two teams. And it's maybe you picked it up for your next game, but I don't know. The Chiefs and the Packers. Those are the two teams, I should say, that have the most, you should have your eyes on most if you're a fantasy player, because you're keeping an eye on who ends up being the number one guy for an MVP caliber quarterback. MVS, Allen Lazard, Mecole Hardman, for both teams, I should say. There's just so much. You're wondering who steps up. I'll ask you this. Do you think that this week one, you'll be able to get a good sign of who these quarterbacks are favoring, or do you think it's just going to take more than 1 week?
Oh, you won't know after week one. Everybody will think they know. Romeo Dobbs will come out and have 8 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And everybody I told you it was him. And then the next week it's Allen Lazard or Christian Watson or, whatever, Robert Tonyan or something. We will think we know after this week. Every fantasy expert, including myself, will be like, this is the guy. So, yes, I think we'll know, but we won't know. If that makes sense. At the end of the week, I think I'll have an idea of what things are going. Now, everybody's going to look at different things. I could care less how the production plays out. I'm looking for other things, playing time. In what situations are they playing? Some people are going to look at that. Other people are just we will think we know, but we will have no idea until 3-4 weeks into the season.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, what are you looking out for? Like, how do you even know? So basically, in the back of your mind, just remember, we don't know. We won't know after week 1. You might think you know. Even you will think you know. But at the end of the day, it's going to be too hard to tell who is the lead dog in these offenses. What's your final game that you're looking out for with fantasy players?
Yeah, the rest are tough. And some people may think there's games out here, there's fantasy relevancy all over the place. I don't. This might throw people off. My next game is the Eagles and the Lions. And this is for a number of reasons, but there are some people that have heavily drafted certain players from these teams that are expecting things, right? Jalen Hurts, everybody expects him maybe to crack that top 5 at the quarterback position this year. So a lot of people used a high draft pick on him. AJ Brown now being in Philly, a lot of people have high hopes for him. But what happens to Devontae Smith? Where does Dallas Goedert fall on the tight ends now that they have weapons on the outside? Does that create more opportunities for him or take away from him? We've asked those questions all offseason. Miles Sanders, can he stay healthy? Is he the guy? I mean,
will he score a touchdown?
Will he score a touchdown? Will he stay on the field for a whole game?
Yeah.
And then the second thing is the Detroit Lions, and everybody's been on board with DeAndre Swift. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was the darling of fantasy towards the end of last year. Matter of fact, if you won the championship, it was probably because of him. He was probably on your football team. So I think
Didn't Bailey have him?
I think so, but
yeah.
With him, and then you got TJ Hawkinson, there's weapons on Detroit, even though they are a bad football team and we don't look at Jared Goff as anything, or maybe some of those other guys, their defense is not good. I expect points to be scored in this game one way or the other. If Detroit falls way behind, they're going to have to, open it up and go for it on 4th down and more plays and garbage points and all those things. Or if they're just neither defense on neither side, because we don't expect Detroit's defense to be very good throughout the whole year, then you have offense on both sides and there's a lot of points scored. So I think it's an underrated fantasy game, but I do think there's a lot of fantasy implications based on how drafts went and the pieces that people have on their team.
I think this is, I guess the Eagles might even fall under that category too, with what we were talking about with like the Green Bay Packers and the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe not so much like who's going to be the guy, but who is going to be the number 1 target for Jalen Hurts. Like that's what you have to watch out for. And I mean, is it going to be AJ Brown? Is it going to be Devontae Smith? Is this a situation? Is this under the same? Is this under the same rules? Do the same rules apply here that you applied for the Packers and the Chiefs, where after week 1, maybe we don't know if it's gonna be Devontae Smith or AJ Brown, or is this a team that maybe that it's going to be one or the other?
No, because I don't think it's fair to do that for these two guys. I think these guys are both capable of being number 1s. I don't think that's the case for those other teams you're referring to. I think those other teams have a bunch of really good number 2 receivers that we're looking for to step up and be the guy. I think if you put Devontae Smith on a team by himself, he's the guy. I think if you put A.J. Brown on the team by himself, we know he's the guy. And I think that's the difference here. So, yes, will there be a pecking order? Absolutely. But I don't think we're looking for, who's going to get more targets? Is it A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith? Because I think at the end of the day, we know they're both capable of giving us those kind of numbers.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. We are going to start rounding out the fantasy football show again. For those tuning in with us, we are going to be talking about our full NFL season predictions coming up probably at the half-hour mark of this show. But Aaron, now is the time. If you want to talk about some personal fantasy football leagues, you want to talk about how your drafts have been going. How's it been going?
Well, I don't care about my personal. I care about our Sac City podcast league, because Bailey be in the chat talking all that ish because he won last year. Like, that's got to stop. If you want to live off of last year, then you can go join the Bengals fans that are living off of last year by making it to the Super Bowl, okay? Or even the Rams fans that won the Super Bowl. Like, it's a new year. We don't care anymore that you won. Like, great, congratulations. Happy for you, buddy. But it's time to talk about 2022. And we held our draft the other day. And I'll be honest, I laughed at most of our draft choices because I thought there were some teams that did some odd things, and I thought there were some teams that did some good things. So my particular team, and I'll read this out loud, and I'll tell you that I was a little preoccupied, and there is a couple of picks that I did not love on my team, but I work around it, and I adjust, and I make things happen.
Excuses, got it.
So for those that are new to the Sac City Podcast League, or this year is a new season, We have 2 quarterback league or a super flex league. It's 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, 3 flex positions, and a super flex. These are deep rosters, 20 spot rosters. You are starting a lot of guys. You must draft well because you're going to be playing guys that most people would find on waiver wires most weeks. This is about the draft, and can you draft a good team or can you trade with somebody that's stupid like Dylan? So I'll run through my squad, and then I want you to run through your squad.
Before you do that, I have to comment on what you just said. You have to find people stupid enough to trade with, like Dylan. Both my dad and my brother have made a pact that they will not be trading with you at all this season.
With me?
Because of Because Why? Of what my brother did with you last season. The trades you made with him were fair at the time, but at the end of the season, my brother got fleeced. Like that's how it was.
That's fantasy. But most people that play week to week do that. I don't play week to week.
My brother was like, "I'm no longer trading with Aaron because I will not be fooled again."
So and it must run in your family, Vinny.
It does.
Let me give fantasy advice to everybody. Do not play with your emotions. And yes, you are going to make deals that are in the end that are not good for you. But if you don't have a good record and you are trying to win each week, sometimes you have to trade for week-to-week value and give up long-term success. If Christian McCaffrey is out till week 12 and I acquire him and he turns out to be the best player in fantasy playoffs, saying you won't trade with me doesn't do you any good. It doesn't. You would have just sat on your bench or something like that. So don't play with your emotions. Play with your head. Do what you feel is best. And if you don't want to trade with me, fine. I'll either find some other person that will, or I don't need to trade. I am perfectly comfortable with my draft strategy and my ability to maneuver and finagle a team that I will be there in the end. But I will never say that I won't draft with you again or I won't draft with you again. That's a bad strategy in fantasy.
No, trade with you.
Make your team better. Make your team better. That's all I can say. I don't care if you trade with me or not. Now my thing went, okay. So here's my team. I have Justin Fields is my quarterback 1. And this is crazy. This is where people are going to look at me like, whoa. So Justin Fields, my running backs are Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Rashad.
Wait. Hold on. All right, continue. Sorry. Continue. I'm just going to do something.
What are you doing?
Just go. Continue.
Okay. Justin Fields, Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, Rashad Penny, and those are my starters in my starting lineup right now. I won't give you my bench. My receivers are Allen Robinson, Adam Thielen, Jarvis Landry, AJ Green. I have in there for now. And then my tight end is Travis Kelce. And my other quarterback is Tua Tagovailoa. And I have Dallas's defense.
There you go. And I'm actually
my bench has a bunch of upside guys only. I'll just be fair. I have, Tolbert and Isaiah McKenzie and DeShaun Watson.
Yeah, I'm pulling up the team now. I'm trying to at least, just so that people have a better idea on what we're looking at for your squad. Everyone can see that. So this is Aaron's team here, as he just mentioned. You got a few of the guys that I wanted, and we talked about it during the draft, and this is what I mentioned during the show, is I drafted Mark Andrews in the second round, or maybe the third round. I think it was the third round. Yeah, I drafted Mark Andrews in the third round, and Ezekiel Elliott was still on the board, and I was like, maybe he'll come back around. He did not, because Aaron got him clearly here. And then I was like, man, I'm kind of up Schitt's Creek, so if you're still drafting, do not just get your running backs, okay? Saddle up your running backs because you might end up like me. I am a little concerned about your quarterback position, obviously with a 2-quarterback league. It's one of those situations, but I know you're confident in Justin Fields, and you like Tua, so I'm not gonna.
I need Tua and Justin Fields to be quarterback 12 through 16, and everybody is going to jump on the fact that Tua is Tua and Tua hasn't done anything and Tua blah blah blah. Tua just added himself Tyreek Hill. Tua added himself Cedric Wilson. They have an offense now and a new offensive coordinator, play caller, and Mike McDaniels. I am very confident Tua is going to have a really good year. But I did want to say, when we talk about like Bailey's talking about his team and all this and who's doing what, get your running backs. It does die. I've been trying to tell people that it does die, and it dies fast. The difference between quarterback 10 and quarterback 13 or quarterback 14 or 15 is not as much as it is those big time running.
In this draft, I think I got so enamored with the stack of Lamar and Mark Andrews, and that's what got the best of me here. That is true. Fields might be
not a fantasy stat, Joey.
That's true. That is true. As you freeze, we
don't care how many 2 touchdowns in garbage time. That's all I care about.
Yeah, exactly. But so for my
by the way, not that I'm boasting, but not that this matters at all because I hate projections, but I am also projected to score the most in week 1 on Sleeper.
Well, fantastic. We're happy for you. We're all happy for you. We're rooting for you. So I have Lamar Jackson, Joe Mixon, Chase. This is where I don't like Chase Edmonds as my running back too. I might try and find a trade partner because of that.
No trade, you say? Trade.
I know you have all the running backs, so if you're willing to look into a trade for a running back, I might be interested. Joe Mixon, Chase Edmonds is my running back. My wide receivers are Michael Pittman, DJ Moore, Christian Kirk. And then I also want to throw out that I do have Dameon Pierce, and I reached hard on Dameon Pierce. Like I reached extremely hard on Dameon Pierce because I felt so uncomfortable with my running backs. So to me, Dameon Pierce is my RB2. He will end up slotting there for most of the season with Chase Edmonds slotting in the flex. But outside of that, it just does not feel good. Then you look at obviously after Mark Andrews, Pierce, and then Nyheim Hines, which I kind of bought, which you guys were selling me about Nyheim Hines. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it and hope for the best. Mecole Hardman there as well. And then Trevor Lawrence is as my super flex quarterback. And I don't know what your thoughts were, but I ended up taking 2 defenses because I was like, you know what? I feel like the waiver wire is just going to be shit this season. So like, it's not going to be important at all. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to get my 2 defenses and roll here. This is my squad though. That's it. That's it right there.
You did make up for some of the poor selection early in the draft. I just didn't like the Mark Andrews pick there.
Yeah.
Especially when you didn't have because you went quarterback and then what?
I went quarterback, running back, and then tight end. I went Lamar, Mixon, and then Andrews.
Yeah, I would have probably went another back there, and then whatever tight end was the best available. Maybe that's a Kyle Pitts. Maybe that's a whoever. If you wanted to go,
I should have stuck with. I have 2 tight ends, and now I can bring it up because all of our drafts are over and everything. I have 2 tight ends that I'm really hyped about later in drafts, and it's Cole Kmet for the Bears. I think he's going to be a target machine for a bad offense that's going to be down in games, and then also Pat Freiermuth. Those are my 2 later round tight ends that I've been finding a way to get later on because I've been trying to follow the strategy of getting your running backs. But that is our fantasy football show. I want to remind everybody that coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Sundays, we'll be bringing back our old, maybe we'll find a new name for it, but we will be having a fantasy live show on Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern time, breaking you down our starts, our sits, our DFS picks, and so much more. You are not going to want to miss it on Sundays. After this quick commercial break, we are going to come back and give you guys our full season predictions. We've got division winners, playoff picks, Super Bowl champions, all that, so much more after this.
This season preview is brought to you by Manscaped's brand new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. This luxurious lather cleanses and nourishes in just 1 step. Using coconut water, green tea, and aloe, this non-greasy daily formula is naturally hydrating and rich in antioxidants to revitalize the look and feel of your hair. So head on over to manscaped.com and use the promo code SACCITY for 20% off and free worldwide shipping. The new Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner from Manscaped. Take care of hair everywhere.
It's time to dive into the 2022 season and give you guys who we think is winning it all, taking it to the playoffs, and all that and so much more. If you guys missed our season preview episodes, they are available on YouTube at Sac City Pod. Be sure to subscribe and tell your friends. Tell your friends. Aaron, let's get into it. We're going to go division by division, break down our standings. Not really break down our standings, reveal our standings for everything and our division winners. Then we're going to get into the playoff talk. And then we're going to get into the Super Bowl and wrap it up. Sound good? Sound great?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Great. Fantastic. Boom. Okay, so let's start off with the AFC East because that's on the top of my dock here. And the standings here, starting off with yours, you have the Bills winning the AFC East. Shocker there. You have the Dolphins after the Patriots and the Jets. Now, what is the tiebreaker there, and who ends up getting third and who ends up getting last in the AFC East for you?
Wait, say that again?
Who ends up getting last in the AFC East?
Well, seeing that you got my schedules wrong.
What?
My rank. I just looked. I didn't look at each division. I just looked at the playoffs. My Dolphins are 10-7, but it's okay. Doesn't matter. Dolphins are 10-7, but I do think New England holds off the Jets, and I think the Jets are in last place. We talked about it. They were one of the teams I had questions about their schedule after giving them 7 wins. Their first 9 games are easy losable games. They could be 0-9. So I will say the Jets do finish in last, but I really like the way they're progressing. I'll give the Patriots the slight edge, I guess, but I'm not excited about it. It wouldn't shock me if it's not. I'm just not excited about New England at all this year.
Yeah, and I think that's where I am at as well. I also have them at 7-10. I've been kind of going back and forth on where I want the Dolphins at 8-9 or 9-8. Give them that extra win. I don't think it matters at the end of the day because I don't think they get into the playoffs. You guys will find that out in just a little bit. But I have the same route as you. The Bills crush it this season as the best team in the NFL, and the Jets and Patriots are battling it out to try not to be last in the AFC East. Let's move on to the AFC North, and these are your predictions here for the AFC North, having the Ravens take the North, followed up by the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers. Kind of want to go to the Steelers part, and we talked about it in our season preview show. This was before the unveiling of the starting quarterback being Mitch Trubisky. Does this change at all what you have? You obviously have 6-11. You locked it in before the show, 6-11. Do you see what changes do you see from Pittsburgh's record if Pickett comes in early or later, or what do you see from that?
Well, it has nothing to do with Kenny Pickett. The only reluctancy I had about the 6-11 record is Mike Tomlin and the ability to coach a football team. I'm being pretty disrespectful by giving him only 6 wins with the quarterback in Mitch Trubisky, who has been to the playoffs with the Bears team that wasn't really that good. So, I don't know. And this is more of a just kind of like, I think this is just going to be one of those transition years for Pittsburgh. But I could be completely wrong. I'm pretty confident, and I have a lot of conviction when I usually give predictions. This is another one of those where I'm just like, I don't really know that I'm right. I don't know that I'm wrong. It just something tells me this is a transition year for them, and they are going to go through some struggles internally about when to play Kenny Pickett versus Mitch Trubisky if they start losing some games. And I think ultimately those decisions lead to some losses in a really, really good conference, and they just aren't able to get over the hump or get to that 500 record.
It's hard to go against what Mike Tomlin has done in his career. And you brought up the fact that there's going to be back and forth possibly with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett and who to start. And it's hard, like, as you said that, and I have my schedule results here. I think it's actually the same as yours for the AFC North. It's hard to have that 6-11 for the Steelers. And you brought up the back and forth. And I'm like, okay, that actually makes me want to put them at more wins, because I think Mike Tomlin gets that shit under control. It's hard to go against the responsibility, the level of, I don't want to say professionalism, but the way Tomlin keeps the Steelers on a tight ship and always keeps them afloat. I think that you're going to be able to see more wins, even if there is that controversy going on from the media. I don't think it's going to end up happening inside the locker room of Pittsburgh. I think they know what's going on. But I'm locking in 6-11.
The hard part, like when I think about Pittsburgh and everything that Mike Tomlin's been able to do, is it's always been with Ben Roethlisberger. There's only one season where Ben Roethlisberger did not play at least 12, 13 games. And that was in 2019. And I get it. They still finished 500, but they were 0-2 with Big Ben. But there's something to be said about that. Like, we have to attribute some of that success to the quarterback position. And Mason Rudolph came in and did average, and he was okay. But and they won. Like, they won enough games to get to 500. I
It's
I don't
hard.
know.
It's hard to go against it.
Like,
But that's the thing. Last year, if there was no Big Ben, and even when there was Big Ben, I believe we were all kind of predicting a decline in the Steelers' record.
No Big Ben, they don't win 5 games last year. They were bad.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I truly believe that. Big Ben, even though he did not play great, there is something to be said about having it's the same thing I'm saying about the Falcons this year. The Falcons were terrible last year, but they had Matt Ryan. And Matt Ryan got them to 7 wins when most people were looking at that team like, how are they winning these games? Well, and now you don't have them this year. Now they're the worst team in football, in my opinion.
I think that's a similar situation with what the Pittsburgh Steelers have. And I think that they end up, the talent is there. The quarterback might not be there. And we were all high on Mitch Trubisky actually after free agency. Like, we liked the signing. We thought
I love the signing. Yeah,
that he could have a career resurgence, but I don't know, maybe throwing the wrench in there with Kenny Pickett might throw things off a little bit. What do you have thoughts on this before we go on to our next division with Joey B bringing up Browns 9-8, bullish on that Watson return later in the season? What do you
tell Joey B to go watch my
Oh shit, you broke up. You done broke up when you were trying to fire back.
Down the fort. My internet's been maybe I need to pay my bill.
You're good now. You're good now.
I am bullish on the Browns later in the season. I think with Jacoby Brissett, they can hold it down 4-4, whatever, somewhere around 500, hovering. And then when DeShaun Watson comes back, I told you, I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And yes, it may take some time for him to get back to that level, but I am a true believer that DeShaun Watson's talent is superior to most quarterbacks in this league. And the roster is really good. Like, they have a really good roster. So,
yeah, I almost gave when we were doing our predictions and everything, I almost gave the Browns the win. Like, I was back and forth on the Browns beating Carolina in that first week because the revenge game, Baker Mayfield, that's the narrative. It's like, who's going to get the final say, I guess, in that. And I'm like, man, I think the Browns have so much more of a talented team than the Panthers. Like, I'm not saying, and that's not to say the Panthers have a bad team. Oh yeah, well,
Joey B, man, where you been, bro? I'm not in California anymore. I'm down south. I'm out here and then the south, and Vinny's not where he used to be anymore either, man. Came up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Aaron is down south. I'm up north now. Lots has changed, Joey B, but we haven't had our live show, so maybe he's just a live show guy. But hey, yeah. Joey B, don't just be a live show guy, because sometimes we release content that's on YouTube that you can still interact with us on. Aaron interacts all the time, even on our not live shows. So go in and watch that kind of stuff, comment on it, and we will respond right back to you just as if it was live here. We want to keep the relationships going, even though we have not been live. We want to keep the relationships that we have with our fans that were with us in the live days. AFC South here. I'll drop my predictions here first. I have the Colts winning this division, and some may say, come at me, Titans fans, with the disrespect of 6-11. Your team's trash. Your quarterback's trash. Trash. Nah, I'm kidding. Your team's not that trash, but your quarterback is trash. That's why you end up going.
It's not that trash. You had to put that in there.
Your quarterback's trash. That's why you're at 6-11. I think the Colts run away with this division. I think we see improvements from the Jags and Texans, but that's where I have them. You, on the other hand, give a little bit more respect to the Tennessee Titans at 8-9. Have the Colts still winning at 11-6, and have the Jags and Texans flip-flop from what I have there. You have any thoughts on the AFC South and how that division shapes up?
Yeah, I just think it's a matter of the Titans just being outmatched at this point. I think people are excited about their team, and I think it's misguided. Their roster's not bad. The quarterback play is not great, and the weapons are not great. Outside of a Derrick Henry, I think they struggle on the outside trying to create big explosive plays, and I think that hurt them last year in the playoffs, and I think it hurts them again this year against a offensive-minded AFC that also added defense, if that makes sense. Like the Chiefs, Chargers, Raiders all added defensive players. The Bengals went heavy in the draft on defense and offensive line. They got better. Jacksonville's added defensive player. Everybody's gotten better on the defensive side of the football, but they've also improved their offense, and Tennessee did not. Tennessee stayed still. They did not really do much, and I think they fall behind the 8 ball there. So give me the Colts in that division for sure. And although the record's a few games apart, I don't think it's that close.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it is that close to Colts. I think the Colts are much better. I think they're a much better team this year with Matt Ryan. I think there's just going to be a clear difference in. We've seen so many different starting quarterbacks for the Colts on week 1 of the season. Matt Ryan coming in this year. I think this is just going to be much different than any Colts team we've seen since the Andrew Luck days. And they run away with this division. Jaguars, Texans fans, be happy you guys are improved. Like that record might say 5-12, 4-13, but those games you're going to be much more competitive. I think we're both in agreement on that. Agreement? Is an agreement a word? Is that a word? We're both in agreement on that your teams are on the rise and to disregard the record because you're going to be more competitive in more games. Last division in the AFC, the toughest division. Aaron, it's the AFC West. You have 3 teams going 10-7 and the Chiefs winning it all. You are not back down on your Chiefs love this season. Even though they lose Tyreek Hill, you still think that this team is the class of the AFC West, even with all the additions for all 3 other rivals.
Well, yeah. I mean, are we not going to talk about who the Chiefs added? Like, just because you got rid of somebody, the Chiefs also added pieces. I mean, we talked about what they did in the draft. We talked about bringing in a Juju and an MVS and guys like that and drafting Sky Moore. And then on the defensive side of the ball, they go and get Justin Reed after losing Tyrann Mathieu. So I don't know that anything changes with the Chiefs. They got the quarterback. They got the coach. They got the experience. The other guys, see, this is my thing, is those other teams have to prove it. Chiefs don't have anything to prove. Chiefs have been there. They're the ones everybody's trying to catch, right? And yet we are so quick to just automatically, these teams added a player, let's put them ahead of the Chiefs. Like, no, like the Chiefs, you're going to have to show me that you can go and beat the Chiefs. It's the same thing I said about the Bills this year. I love the Bills. I hope they don't have to play the Chiefs. I hope they don't have to play the Chiefs in the playoffs because if they do, good luck. Like, that's the team everybody's trying to catch. And I know Cincinnati got them last year, and that's fine. Like, Cincinnati can say they got them. But every year, that's the standard. Everybody's trying to get Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's trying to get Andy Reid. And if you're that team Jesus Christ, that Peyton Manning had to overcome, then you're in a good spot. And I don't think that's changed with the Kansas City Chiefs this year.
I think I'm in agree. I agree with you on that you have to prove it from those teams. I am a little higher on, and we talked about my records before on past shows about how maybe I'm too high on just about every team and too low on too many teams. But I do think the Chargers end up getting to that level this year, at least for the wins, maybe not to the same exact level as the Chiefs, but in terms of wins on paper, the Chargers get to that level. And we do see progression from the Raiders and the Broncos this year. I want to throw this out there. We talk about like they drafted Sky Moore and like the draft, but I feel like we have not talked enough about them selecting Trent McDuffie in the first round too. Like that was a thing. Like that's a good. That's my number one corner in the draft. Yeah, remember that.
That's
what I'm saying. Like,
well, no. Let me rephrase. My number one guy outside of Stingley and Sauce Gardner.
Yeah,
that was that third corner that I said should be taken, and I loved it. And everybody's honestly talked about him and his man-to-man coverage skills, which fits perfectly for what Spagnuolo wants to do. Which is why I haven't harped on the Charvarius Ward departure from Kansas City's perspective. I loved it, and I think you hit the nail right on the head. I think they've done some things that have gone under the radar.
Yeah, I mean, they not to say Carlos Dunlap's a big signing, but he's a player that can still give you some valuable reps, and I think this team is still the cream of the crop when it comes to the AFC West. Shifting over to the NFC here, we'll kind of run through the NFC East, and this is kind of how it shakes up for me and shakes up for you, Aaron. It's Commanders and Giants at 6-11 for you, and 9-8 for the Eagles, and 12-5 for the Cowboys. I have the same record for the Cowboys. I'm a little higher on the Eagles, and that's kind of where we're going to go in our NFC East conversation. Just to touch on it, Eagles 11-6 for me, 9-8 for you. You're not buying what they're selling in Philadelphia?
It's not that I'm not buying. I like their team. I like the roster that they've put together. But again, to just flip a switch and all of a sudden be a good football team is hard to do. And they still try to figure out what Jalen Hurts is. And I think that's the concern. I don't know that the right positions is where they have it figured out at. And the right position is the quarterback position. And I'm not saying they need a new one, but I'm saying Jalen Hurts has to grow and be better. And I think when you have a question mark at the quarterback position on any level, completion percentage, accuracy, being able to do certain things, that takes time to get everything together in one collective unit. So I like what they're doing. I think this is another step this year to where you say, okay, Jalen Hurts now has a big-time weapon in A.J. Brown, got Devontae Smith there, got everything in place, defense added pieces. Now let's see him grow from that. But I don't know that growth in 1 year results in the win column right away. And I think it's more long-term than it is short-term. You
have to be quite possibly one of the most consistent people I've ever met when it comes to the phrase, you're from the show me state. Because every team that has potential, you're not really buying the potential. And it's not like saying that it's not going to happen, but you're consistent when it comes to saying, show me. And that's where it is with the NFC East. Did you want to touch on anything else in that NFC East before we move on to the North and break down?
No. It's just to touch on that point. I'm just big on resumes. And so if you've shown me you can be great and consistent over time, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. And not that Dallas is great, but Dallas is shown to be a good regular season team and beat the teams they're supposed to and have a good record and then blow it in the playoffs. And I've said that. So I expect very similar results from that end. I expect the same thing from Philly on this end. Like, I like the pieces. And easily, if they won the division, I wouldn't be like, oh my God. I would say, you know what, that's something I could see, but they have to show me. And by the middle of the season, you'll know, because I'll start to shift my tune. I love to change my mind if there's information that tells me I need to change my mind. New facts breeds new results. So to your consistency point, I do try to stay as consistent as possible.
Yeah. It shows. It shows. The NFC North now, you have the Packers, then the Vikings, then the Lions, and the Bears as the worst team in the NFL. And then I also am up that same street that you are on. I just am a little higher on a few more wins for the Detroit Lions. Obviously, the cream of the crop in the NFC North is the Green Bay Packers. But the Bears, the worst team there. No need to really. Is this the year for the Vikings to get over the hump? You have them 9-8. Is this the year that they get over the hump?
I gave them 9-8, but I am excited about the Vikings. I know I kind of was like, from I got on everybody about the whole throwing the ball more and all that stuff. Like, it's going to make this look a little different. It's about that defense. If that defense can show up and play, they will be a much better football team. And that is the one team that I do believe could shock some people.
Shock, you say? Shock.
And I'm not going to go Dylan, a NFC Championship game, but that is not a team I would want to play. Let's just say that. In any playoff game, I do not want to play the Vikings.
Yeah, no, I think this is going to be. I think you're right. I think this is going to be a much different Vikings team, and we'll see if they make the playoffs in our predictions in just a few moments. But the last division on our doc to go over for these is the NFC West, and you have the Rams at 11-6, Packers at 8-9, Niners at 9-8, and the Seahawks at 4-13. I have one more win for the Rams, a tie between the Cardinals and Niners, and the Seahawks at 3-14. Is there anything you want to discuss here with the NFC West before we move on to our playoff predictions?
No, I think I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I think we all think Cardinals disappoint a little bit. Niners are a really good team, but Trey Lance we're unsure of, so they're kind of hovering. I think that's probably one of the easier divisions, which is weird because last year it was one of the harder divisions in my mind. But I really do think it's a little bit easier this year.
It's still tight, but it's
But
it's not. Yeah, it's still tight, and that's what made it harder last year. I think we are now used to it being tight, and we're kind of going along with that, like it being just a tight
last year
race,
they had four teams with that could have did it all, right? You had Russell Wilson to Seattle. You're always going to think that's a contender. So you had four teams where you're like, we don't really know who's going to win this division. I think that separation is a little bit more. Nobody's really on board with Arizona now, and the Niners are in a transition. So I think the Rams, obviously winning the Super Bowl, are the clear, we think they're the top dog in that division. Whereas last year, I don't think we had any idea. I think everybody was all over the place. Seattle, the Niners, the Cardinals, the Rams. We didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Well, let's go into our NFC playoff talk here and get down to business. This is it. This is where it all comes. Like, we've done our season previews. If you guys missed any of those episodes, they are still on our YouTube page at the Sac City Pod, and nice little playlist for you, so it is very easy to watch. But now this is what we haven't talked about, the playoffs. So we're starting with the NFC, and this is your playoff standings here. Entering the playoffs, I should say. The Bucks take the number 1 spot in the NFC, followed by the Packers, the Cowboys, and the Rams. You got your 4 division winners, and then you have the Saints at 5, the Vikings at 6, and the Niners at 7. So this means no Cardinals. This means no Eagles. Those 2 teams did not make the playoffs. They made it last year. They will not make it this year, according to you. What do you have to say for yourself?
Yeah, it was close because I had the Vikings, Niners, Eagles, and Cardinals, I believe, all at 9 and 8. So tiebreakers came into play, and obviously everybody knows I went down game by game and broke those tiebreakers, and it just worked out that way. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm getting all 7 playoff teams right. Could it be the Eagles instead of the Niners, or the Cardinals? Maybe, but I think the Vikings and I think the Saints the biggest. I'll talk about them. I think the Saints is the biggest leap. I didn't want to leap and make them win the division because I think Tampa Bay is a really good team and has the easier schedule. But I do believe the Saints are the most dangerous team in the NFL right now. And when I say dangerous, like, that could be a team that didn't make the playoffs and go all the way to the Super Bowl. Like, that's how I really feel about the New Orleans Saints, especially in a weaker NFC, in my opinion. It's really up for grabs, and it really just depends on what kind of Jameis Winston shows up and if Michael Thomas can get back healthy and play. And then Alvin Kamara not get suspended. Everything else is there. And I know I just said a lot of what ifs, but Michael Thomas technically right now is healthy. Alvin Kamara is technically not suspended, and Jameis Winston's healthy enough to go right now. So
when it comes to the
Packers, the Bucks, whoever.
We missed half of that. The last half of what you just said.
It didn't matter.
Okay, got it. I was just going to point out the fact that, like, when you look at your NFC playoffs, you have the Saints just losing the division to the Bucks. You still have them at 12-5, so they have a better record than the Rams. They have the same record as the Cowboys, Packers, and Bucks. Like, that's where you're at with how good you think the Saints are. On my side, I do have the Eagles still in the playoffs. I have the Packers at number 1. I think they're the best team in the NFC. I think that the Bucks trail Cowboys, Rams, just like you, for those 2 division winners. Saints as well, just miss out because of how good the Bucks do. Then I do have the Eagles. I am buying the Eagles to sneak into the playoffs, and I am also on the train of the Vikings. Now, just a quick question regarding the Cardinals missing the playoffs. Would you fire Cliff Kingsbury if you missed the playoffs this year?
No, we already had this conversation.
Okay, I just want to bring it back up.
He just signed a new contract.
Again, just wanted to bring it back up. And are you regretting it at all if he misses the playoff? Like, no? Okay, got it. Fair enough. So yeah, this is my playoffs. I do think the Eagles get in. I think that they have enough talent. They may start off slow during the season, but I think they figure themselves out towards the end. The Vikings, I actually had a tough time trying to decide on who had that last spot, whether it was going to be the Vikings, the Cardinals, or the Niners. I think the Vikings have more, I don't want to say potential this year, but I like the direction Kevin O'Connell is taking the Vikings, and I think that they slip into the playoffs. And like you, I do think that they could surprise a lot of teams, and maybe they match up against a Buccaneers team or they would probably Aaron, based off this playoffs, it would be the Vikings and the Cowboys, right? In the first round?
Not on yours. On mine would be. It would be Cowboys, Eagles.
Okay, Cowboys, Eagles, and Vikings would play the Bucks. That's how that would work. Yeah, okay, got it. I think that could be a surprise right there. I think the Vikings could upset the Bucks in the first round. I'll say that as one of my little slight bold predictions. Let's go to the AFC side of things, and your AFC looks like this, with the Bills at the number 1 spot, followed by the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Colts. And your 3 playoff teams are the Bengals, the Raiders, and the Broncos. Again, the Chargers missing out on the postseason. think that has to be the most notable miss that you have. But where do you want to go with these playoff teams, or maybe the playoff teams that are the teams that didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, I think we got to start there, right, in the AFC West, because I have 3 teams in the West getting in, and the Chargers aren't one of them, and everybody loves the Chargers. That's the league darling. That's the Super Bowl. Oh, they're so good. Justin Herbert's great. Justin Herbert is a 500 record and never been in the playoffs. I mean, I get it's only been 2 years, but we are so quick to anoint the next guy, and the next guy hasn't done anything as far as success yet as for a team perspective. So I think we are disrespectful to, number one, the Raiders significantly after making the playoffs after that shit show of a year last year that they went through, and they were able to make the playoffs and almost knock off the AFC champion Cincinnati Bengals. Maybe one whistle away from a different ball game there. And then you add Chandler Jones and you add Devontae Adams and you add a new coaching staff. I'm not sure where the disrespect comes from. But I think the Raiders are a lock to make the playoffs, and I get it. I get why people don't want it to be true because they haven't been very good for the better half of a decade or two. And then the Broncos, you add Russell Wilson, who has experience, to a team that we already thought was a quarterback away, and then you get to see Sierra on camera some more. Sign me up. No, I just really like what Russell brings to the table, and I think it's do or die in Denver for Russell Wilson. I think this is going to make or break his legacy as an NFL quarterback.
I had such a hard time with that. I think the Chargers are a lock, and I'll pull up my playoffs as well. I think the Chargers are the lock, and I went back and forth whether I was going to put the Raiders, the Bengals at that 6th spot. Basically, I had a hard time deciding if it was going to be Raiders, Bengals, Broncos, like which 2 of those 3 teams got in. And I made the decision to go Bengals, and I don't know why. I know why the Bengals. I like the Bengals this year. It's just so hard.
Nobody likes the Raiders. You're not the only one. You're not. I know, and I buy into it.
But that's the thing. I like the Raiders, and I like that defense. That's really, and like we talk about the offense. I like that defense more than I even like that offense. I love what I like more. They have. What?
You know what I like more than anything that nobody talks about is the culture that they've now brought in with the McDaniels and the GM. I forget his name. I can't think. They're coming from New England. They're used to winning. This is not and I get McDaniels didn't have a great time in Denver. This is a different Josh McDaniels at this age. It is a different culture there. They have leaders there with Devontae Adams and Derek Carr. This is not the same old Raiders. And I'm not saying they're Super Bowl champs, but we love to attach stigma to teams like this that have been bad for 20 years. But last year they were good, and they went through a shit ton of stuff.
You are making me want to, like, 'cause in my head, I was trying to choose between those 3 teams, Bengals, Broncos, and Raiders. And you just brought something up that I'm like literally about to go to my Photoshop right now and change one of my picks. Because the culture, I think Russell Wilson and the Broncos could miss the playoffs. Like, I think that is the odd man out. I love your point about the culture that they have in Oakland or in Las Vegas right now. Like, that's what they have brought. And there isn't really a culture in Denver. And it's crazy to say that after getting Russell Wilson, the Broncos missed the playoffs. That's what, like, I'm having a hard time going through with.
It's tough, but Russell Wilson or Devontae Adams, Chandler Jones. They got probably frozen again, not hearing anything. I got in this internet. Basically, what I was saying was the Raiders got rid of every cancerous piece, and I'm not trying to call anybody cancer, or whether it was production on the field or bad off the field locker room stuff. Arnett, Ruggs, Leatherwood, like they bring in guys like Devontae Adams, class guy, Chandler Jones, class guy. Like they're bringing it. They signed Crosby, guys that are motivated. I'm telling you, it's just a different era to me in Las Vegas, and I love what they're doing. And I think this year they are going to prove people wrong again. And I think they are an absolute lock. Yes, I said it, a lock to make the playoffs. And I know I've only put them at the quote-unquote 6, 7, whatever seed. I think I have them at the 6th seed. But part of that is obviously the Chiefs, but I have them as, again, that's just giving respect to the defending AFC champs Bengals and the Chiefs winning the division because I think they are the best team in that division. So
I did it.
I think they're better than Denver, and I definitely think they're better than the Chargers. Chargers is that point. They got to show me. I will not believe in the Chargers until they show me they are that kind of inconsistent team they've been.
Well, I think almost the same could be said about the Raiders needing to show you.
Raiders were in the playoffs last year.
That's fair. That's fair.
And they beat the Chargers to do it, which makes it worse.
I made the change. Broncos missed the playoffs. Raiders at 7 here. Let's get into our Super Bowl predictions here. Actually, let's get into the conference championship and then Super Bowl. Who do you have in the AFC championship?
Yeah, bring up my thing so I can see how the matchups would play out, just so I don't make a mistake. So Bills get the bye. Ravens play the Broncos. Ravens win that. Chiefs play the Raiders. Chiefs win that. Colts and Bengals. I'm taking the Colts. So I will take the top 4 teams will be Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Colts. Ravens will play the Chiefs. Oh, Lord. It'll be the Bills in the conference championship.
This is it. This is it.
Against the Baltimore Ravens.
Over the Chiefs.
No, hell no.
I was about to say,
Kansas City
this
Chiefs.
is it. This is it for me.
The Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Kansas
This is the AFC. This is what we've been waiting for. As football fans, this
you
is
know
what
who I'm taking.
This is what we've been waiting for, though. The Bills, and then that's who I have in the AFC Championship. Bills, Chiefs. We finally get the matchup. We finally get it in the AFC Championship. This is where it happens. I got and if we're gonna go in through predictions here for that game, I have it Bills, Chiefs in the AFC Championship. Josh Allen gets over the hump, and the Bills are representing the AFC in the Super Bowl.
It's Bills, Chiefs in the AFC Championship game, and once again, Josh Allen falls short.
No way you did not freeze during that. No way you freeze during that moment. Unbelievable.
What? Did you not hear anything?
Nope. None of it. None of it. We got to the point where you go, and Josh Allen falls short. And then it was nothing.
He falls short. The Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. They represent the AFC again. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes.
You're serious?
Yeah, I told you that many times.
Wow. Okay.
What did I tell you the other day? That Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills will be in the Super Bowl unless what? They have to play the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh man, you stick to your guns, man. That's.
I think they're better. I think they are the best team in football. But there is something to be said about matchups, and matchups matter. Josh Allen year was last year when he did what he did in the playoff game. Everybody's like, "This is it." And then what happens? Mahomes to Kelsey, Mahomes here, Butker takes it, coin toss. Next thing you know, Chiefs win, and Buffalo's like, well, what just happened? Like they didn't even know what just happened. So, Kansas City, Andy Reid.
All right, so you have the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I have the Bills in the Super Bowl. AJ, he put out his predictions here. I think he's got the same thing as what I originally had. He has the Raiders missing the playoffs. In the Super Bowl representing the AFC, AJ does have the Baltimore Ravens. AJ has the Ravens.
I will tell you, I think the Ravens have a better chance of beating the Chiefs than the Bills. Like it's so weird.
That defense, if they can stay healthy, man, that's the best. That's one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Those are my top 3 teams. I just think they're the best 3 teams in football.
It's fair. So AJ has Ravens. I have Bills. You have Chiefs. In the NFC, I'll say AJ has the Bucks in the Super Bowl. AJ went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. I'll pull up your NFC playoffs, and how does it shape up here?
Yeah, I think the Packers play the Niners again, and this is just such a bad matchup for the Packers. But I do think Aaron Rodgers gets over the hump here. I think Aaron Rodgers wins that game. I will take the Saints over the Rams. I will take the Cowboys over the Vikings in a close one. Bucks will play the Saints. I will say the Saints beat the Bucks, and the Packers will beat the Cowboys, and it'll be Saints and Packers in the NFC Championship game. And I'm going to do it. I have the Saints in the Super Bowl.
Woo! Okay.
This is so hard because the quarterback plays such a huge difference in that game.
Yeah, and I think
I love both defenses, but
that's where I am at with mine. I'll have the Packers in the NFC Championship game. I think so. It would be Bucks and Vikings. I think I know what I said earlier, but I think the Bucks win that. I think the Bucks. Oh no! Oh man, 2 new head coaches. You don't have the Bruce Arians effect in that, but I do think Todd Bowles ends up being the difference maker with the experience that he has. Bucks over Vikings, Cowboys over Eagles, Saints over Rams, and then it would be. And then it would be
Packers, Saints, Bucks, Cowboys.
Oh man, I can't even do the Packers and Saints in the NFC Championship. I think we end up seeing Bucks or Bucks. Can it be Packers Rams? Can my NFC Championship game be Packers Rams?
If you have the Rams beating the Saints, no.
Because I have the Saints beating the Rams. I have the Saints beating the Rams. Huh. Well, I'm up Schitt's Creek, and I don't want to put the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game.
Just who's in the Super Bowl for you?
The Packers. The Packers are in my Super Bowl. The NFC Championship is going to be Packers Bucks.
I kind of want to change my pick, guys.
Okay, go ahead.
I kind of think my NFC Championship game is still the same. It's Saints Packers. I'm going to give the edge to the Packers.
Okay. So you have
the
Packers
defenses are
Chiefs.
close. I'm going to go. The difference is that quarterback play, and it's Aaron Rodgers.
So you have Packers Chiefs in the Super Bowl,
Packers
and I will lock in Packers Bills in the Super Bowl. AJ's locking in Ravens Bucks in the Super Bowl. Who's hoisting it? Actually, and AJ didn't even give me a Super Bowl winner.
He's going to say Tom Brady. Mine's easy. Patrick Mahomes wins his 2nd Super Bowl ring, beating the Green Bay Packers 34-30.
Okay. Fans in the chat, let us know who your Super Bowl matchup is and who wins. I have the Bills and I have the Packers. I think this is I think this is the Bills' year. I think this is Josh Allen's year. I think he goes all the way. I think he gets over every hump that he needs to. He's going to be a borderline MVP candidate this year. And like you said the other day, you gave us the example here, and hopefully my hands will be able to show up for this. You had Mahomes here and Allen here.
Disrespectful.
That's what happens this year. I think Allen wins the Super Bowl. I think he gets his MVP, and I think he ends up getting on, if not past, Patrick Mahomes' level.
Josh Allen, you gave him this much.
Oh, come on. I'm not trying
Patrick Mahomes, it's like there.
That's what I'm saying. Like literally like paper, the margin is paper.
Josh Allen wins league MVP this year. Put that down. I do believe he wins league MVP, but the Super Bowl MVP will be Patrick Mahomes once again.
Bold prediction.
My biggest bold prediction. I think this is bold. Cooper Kupp does not finish top 5 in receiving yards.
Is that bold?
I believe it's bold because everybody thinks he is.
I'd say that too, but I didn't think that was bold. I don't know if that was.
That's because I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
For me, it's not. Cooper Kupp is great. So if the consensus is Cooper Kupp's great and he's going to lead the league in receiving again and all this stuff, he's the number 1 guy. I think that's bold.
Gotcha. AJ just gave me Lamar Jackson and the Ravens win the Super Bowl. So that's his Super Bowl pick. And then my bold prediction will be Aaron Rodgers is not a Packer at the end of the year. Like after the season, like Aaron Rodgers is done with the Packers.
You're doing off-season bold predictions.
Okay,
Jesus
maybe
Christ.
not. Okay, sorry. Sorry. Maybe the bold prediction right there is the Broncos don't make the playoffs. Maybe that's it. Is that bold?
I think that's pretty bold.
Okay,
I also think it's bold if you say Aaron Rodgers was to win another MVP, which was close for me. That was my second bold prediction.
Okay. Bailey is hopping on the Michael Irvin train and saying Kirk Cousins wins the MVP. You guys are both high as an absolute kite with that. That's over under 150 tables in the Super Bowl if the Bills make it? Over. Well over. That does it, though, for our prediction show.
Hey, did you guys – wait, I got one thing. Did you guys hear Joy Taylor and she say what the Bills stand for?
What do they stand for?
Boy, I love to lose – or boy, I love losing Super Bowls.
Oh.
BILLS. And, so we all know if the Bills make it and they don't win, They're the worst Super Bowl team in NFL history, 0-5.
That would be tough. That's a tough look. That is a tough look. So you've got the Chiefs,
Packers, Chiefs win it all.
Chiefs, Packers, Chiefs winning it all. I have the Bills, Packers, Bills winning it all. AJ has the Ravens and the Bucks with the Ravens winning it all. And that does it for our season previews, our season predictions. Thursday starts our week. Tomorrow starts our week 1 game by game previews. It's here, ladies and gentlemen. It is here. You're not going to want to be anywhere else but the Sack City Podcast. And if you haven't done it already, do it right now. Yeah, we'll be live. Yeah, we will be live at 10 a.m. Eastern time right here on YouTube. Follow us on all of our social media pages at Sack City Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and the Tickety Talk. Follow Kenny Baby Hands Pickett. Give him a little dab like Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky doing. And follow us on all of our social media pages, okay? You are not going to want to miss a single second of live Sack City Podcast coverage, 10 a.m. Eastern time during the weekdays and 11 a.m. on Saturdays. Not going to want to miss a second. Don't be anywhere else. Aaron, any last thoughts?
Nope. It's time. We ready? I'm going to go take a nap.
There it is. For my best friend, Aaron Mukes, and for myself, me, we will see you tomorrow.
Peace out.
Football!
We know we are a much better team.